This episode is brought to you by the chalk stick used in Fun Dip, proving that you can dip just about anything into powdered sugar and still make millions of dollars.
This episode is also sponsored by Meat Sweats, Satan's punishment for not eating your vegetables. This is Sorry for the Wait. Here we go.
Fired up, ready to go. Welcome to the show, folks. Sorry for the wait. A weight loss podcast for regular people, by regular people. I'm your host, Seth.
And I'm your host, Strawberry.
And we're back.
We are back.
Here we are. You know, it's one of those times where we're still in quarantine and we're still going. And the title of this episode is Quarantine Casserole. I'm just...
There's a lot to talk about.
There is a lot to talk about. There is definitely a lot to talk about. And so before we get into Weekly Weigh-In, I actually want to run something by you.
Oh, yeah?
So since Barry fucked me last episode with his erect teeth movement, I wanted to try and at least, this one isn't really meant to mess with your mind. I'm actually genuinely curious about what your thoughts on this. Have you ever been in a pay it forward line?
I actually think I have at camp once.
Really?
I think that was a thing at like one of the drive-through coffee shops that we went to.
Now, was it somebody you knew who paid it forward, or was it?
I have no idea. I don't remember. It might have been, but I don't remember knowing like, oh, it was this person.
Okay, so here's a scenario. You're in a pay it forward line, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you don't know it yet. Like, you put in an order for food, and let's say you get a small black coffee. Okay. Like,
gross,
you're not getting anything much, right? Yeah. But like, let's say you're spending under $3. So you're spending under $3. You pull up to the window, and the attendant or the cashier or whatever goes, "Hey, just so you know, the person in front of you paid for your order.
Mm-hmm.
Would you like to pay it forward for the person behind you?" Now, your instinct is to do what?
I mean, obviously, I think everyone's instinct is to say yes because you don't want to be the party pooper that ruined it.
Right, exactly. So your instinct is to say yes, and then they drop like, okay, their total is $31.20.
Yeah, that's a hard no for me, dog.
Like, can you just imagine how uncomfortable that is? Like, because it's really just between you, this cashier, and God at this point.
Right.
Like, you've already said, like, well, yeah, sure, I want to help somebody out. Like, what's the total on the order behind me? And she's like, it's $31.20. They got 3 dozen bagels and everything else. They're feeding a family of 12.
Look, I think I have enough karma for all the times that I click the yes. Do you want to round up your change to the nearest dollar and give that to like hungry kids?
Yeah, you think there's carryover?
I really don't think. First of all, if you're in a pay it forward line and you put in an order that is for more than 2 people, I think that you're the one who's ruined the pay it forward line.
Okay, that's fair. Okay, cast blame. I like that. Pass the buck.
Well, okay, yeah. No, it is passing the buck, but at the same time, paying it forward, like, where does it end?
It's just...
Like, where does it end? What if this is a clown car with, like, 30 people stuffed in here? Like, we've seen people stuffed into cars before.
Frozen coffee.
Right? Like, what if everybody orders, like, large frozen coffee with like 3 shots of turbo, and then everybody wants to have like a chicken bacon,
right, like a breakfast sandwich or something.
Yeah, like you're ruining it for everybody. And that's before you really know that it's even a pay it forward line. So I don't really blame you for that, but it isn't the person in front of you's fault. I
can just imagine myself just sweating profusely, just being like, do I pay it forward? Like, is this person going to think I'm a bitch? Like,
if it's a coffee place I go to regularly, then the answer is going to always be yes, because they know me and I don't want to have that on me.
I think I would be so panicked if I already committed to like paying it forward, and then they were like, that's the total. I'd probably drive away, not even take my own stuff. I would go to a different establishment and reorder the same thing. So
yeah, I feel no shame if it's like a Dunkin' that I've never been to before. But if it's a place where they know me, then I'm going to feel a
then
little
you're gonna
pressure.
feel a little worse. Then you have to cross that place off your list. Good. I was genuinely curious about what you thought.
That's a good question.
So let's just get into our weeks, honestly. And do you want me to start?
Yeah, why don't you start?
Yeah. So it was another good week. Honestly, I lost another 5 pounds this week. I'm at 82.5
Wow.
total, which I mean, you've seen me come out here and weigh myself, and like it's always nerve wracking. You know what I mean? Like whenever you have a set weigh-in day,
Absolutely.
even if you know you did all the right things, you're still just there's a pit in your stomach. You know what I mean? And granted, I think I have that 95% of my existence, but it was definitely good to get on the scale and see a good number, and really like it's so much more fun this time around not worrying about the number that I see, because at least I know I'm doing the right shit week to week. Like some weeks your body's just kind of going to fuck with you a little bit. Like it's not going to be there.
Yeah, there's ups and downs and plateaus.
Right. And so I was extremely nervous. I mean, and it just felt really good. Like, and I think that as I keep going, the number just matters less and less, because when I take a step back and look at the number as a total, it blows my mind. It's really just, you're seeing a colossal, I mean, people that I work with are like, you lost the equivalent of my 2 kids. Or like, and it's nuts. Cause like when you put
That's the nicest way to say that you were a fat piece of shit.
and like, obviously nobody means it like that, but it's,
Yeah, no, of course.
it's just, it's nice when you take a step back. I think it's all about perspective. And I never had perspective before when I lost a shit ton of weight and did it like that and did it the unhealthy way. You know what I mean? So what about you? What about your week?
So I think overall it's a good week for my weight loss journey. But the number on the scale was not a good number.
Okay.
I actually gained about 3 pounds this week.
Okay.
And that really stuck with me for like probably the entire morning. I weighed myself Sunday morning. And it really kind of like freaked me out, because here I am for 14, 15 weeks losing weight every week.
Consistently losing.
Consistently. That's the longest streak of weight loss that I've ever had. And, you know, it kind of scared me a little bit to see that, like, oh, now that's over. But then I got out of my own head and I was like, well, it's not over. This is just part of it.
Right.
And I kind of spent Sunday analyzing what my week was like, why I gained some weight, and what next steps I could take. So one thing that I noticed was I had gone to the supermarket at this point, like 2 weeks ago, and I had been a little bit more open to buying snack food.
Right.
You know, healthy snack food, but still
But snack food nonetheless, because just because it's healthy doesn't, I mean, if you still eat a ton of it,
Right.
the calories are still there.
And so I think this is kind of where it intersects with the quarantine. You know, I'm walking around. There's really nothing to really break up your day during the workday besides eating. So I think that I just continued to snack throughout the day. And I think that was the biggest thing for me. So I definitely am making a more concerted effort to not eat more snack food.
Yeah. And I think it's such a tough time to be this is the time of the snack. You know what I mean? There has never been a time in at least American, like, I don't know, I think it might be overzealous to say American history, but it might not be, to just be sitting around at home 24 hours a day.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, what you want to do is just chill out and watch a movie and snack. And it's just so easy to snack. Like when you're at work or you're at the office, you're always, you know,
doing something. You're focused on something.
Like you can't just sit there. Like you can't teach and have a bag of chips open or have like a kind bar in your hand.
No.
And be like, number 8 is this. Like you can't do that. And
yeah, half the time we don't even have enough time to actually eat our lunch.
Right, exactly. And so I think it's just such uncharted territory. But I liked what you said about how you analyzed what you did this past week. Because I think that, like, again, it goes back to perspective of like, well, can I pinpoint obvious things that I messed up?
I've also been, you know, at first, when I had first started my weight loss, I had been tracking everything that I ate every day, and I had fallen off doing that since I was pretty consistent with my weight loss.
Right.
So I've been doing that again this week. I forget how annoying it is to track everything you eat.
Yeah, it's
but
every little thing, and you're like, I got to open the app and throw it in. And granted, now in history, it's never been easier
Right.
to track these
First
things.
world problems
Yeah,
over
right.
here.
It's not like you have to take out parchment and one tomato.
How would they even figure out how many calories is in a tomato back then?
Right, exactly. So, but it is good that like we're able to recognize the mistakes and just be like, okay, like this is where I noticeably fucked up, and I can easily rectify that. Because once you know the mistake, you can easily find that solution.
And that's why even though I gained weight this week, I still feel like it was a good week for me, because I feel like past me in any other diet I've ever done, this would have been the end of it.
Yeah, you would have thrown the towel.
I would have gained the 3 pounds, and then I would have said, well, if I'm going to be gaining weight, I might as well have fun.
Yeah.
Go.
Yeah. No,
back to
and it's just
everything I
kind of
was doing.
that like screw it mentality. And I think our mental states are in a much better place that if we have those downs.
Yeah, and the fact that 2 days later I've gotten better instead of worse is just a very promising sign. And it makes me more hopeful that, even if I gain weight again in a few more weeks, it's not the end just because there's a bump in the road.
Right. No, I like that. But hey, guess what? Just because you have a bad week doesn't mean you didn't crave some shit.
Oh no, I definitely had quite a few cravings.
Okay, so we'll get into craving of the week, and I'll lead off here. This is just another one that ran through my mind as I was laying in bed 2 nights ago. I want you to imagine a summer day. I want to say 72 slight breeze. Not too hot, for us big guys. That's a good temp.
Yeah.
That's a good temp.
I'd take 72 year round.
So I was always a huge fan of slip and slides growing up.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
I never really had much experience with slip and slides.
Your boy was a big slip and slide guy, okay? Your boy got momentum and could thrush down that hill. But here's the problem with slip and slides, Barry, is that you can't eat while you're slipping and sliding.
That's true.
You can't, And
not with that attitude.
you're right, but I don't want to get whatever food item, what have you, in my hand and just get it all soggy. So my craving of the week is I want a slip and slide that consists of melted peanut butter.
I was just about to ask you, and I think you have a pretty good contender right now. What would be the grossest thing to put on a slip and slide before you slide down it?
I'm going to go ahead and say cottage cheese, and I'm going to leave it at that.
Oh, yeah, there's no topping that one.
I want a slip and slide made of melted peanut butter because here's the thing, right? Versatility is my game, okay? So, let's just say I just want to go down just me, mouth open, hello world, and I just want to take in just mouthfuls of melted peanut butter. The end result, who knows if I'm going to survive, but at least I'm going down with peanut butter in the mouth.
There are worse ways to go.
And here's another cool thing, Barry. I could go mouth closed, hold 2 Oreos in my hands, and Superman down. And then guess what? I'm at the end, and I'm like, oh, man, I'm so hungry. Oh, my God, these Oreos are covered in melted peanut butter. Dear God. And I can eat those. And here's the thing. Here's the kicker. I am moving to get this momentum. I'm not trying to go down and slip and slide half-ass. You know what I mean? I am trying to get up speed. If I go down 30, 40 times, it probably takes me 10, 15 steps just to get the momentum to exercise, I'm also tightening the core so that I can stay on track.
I'm a little curious about the physics of it because I feel like peanut butter is almost too
here's the
thick
thing
that you wouldn't be able to slide. It would just be a slip and trip. And
I had to make sure that the adjective there was melted. You know what I mean? I'm talking melted, almost like borderline peanut butter sauce, I am trying.
I've actually never had any sort of.
You've never had like peanut butter sauce on your ice cream?
No, I'm also not as big a peanut butter guy as you are.
You're not a big peanut butter guy, but I'm telling you, just any kind of food that I can think of, even shit that I just would never try. I'm like, well, I've got the slip and slide here for another day, so I might as well just give it a shot. I'm going to go through so much peanut butter, and I am probably going to have a killer rash all over my body. But you know what?
That's what the shower's for.
Exactly. It's worth it. It's worth it to me. So what about you? What were you craving this week?
For me, it's a very specific thing, and it would just be regular, standard s'mores.
Interesting. It's
graham cracker, chocolate, marshmallow, graham cracker. Put it right over the fire to roast that marshmallow.
So a couple notes. One, I always love how I have something that makes me seem like I'm about to become a serial killer. And then you have like, it's craving a s'more, which is fair because I like the yin and yang there. But I do come away from this being like, maybe I need to dial it back a little bit.
I think you're just better at your adjectives, like a California king size bed full of nachos or a slip and slide. I think you're better at that. Me, I'm a simple guy. I just want a simple s'more.
I'm with you.
Maybe 10,000 simple s'mores, but like definitely s'mores.
Now, my important question is here, because I feel like we do have important questions regarding our cravings based on like toppings or just modifications. And so what's your ideal roasted mallow?
My ideal roasted mallow, it's just brown all the way around.
Okay, so
not black.
Right, you're not crisping it.
No. That's psychotic. Like, why would you burn off part of the marshmallow? I like the marshmallow.
That's fair. I can make a play for a little bit blackened, not like charred black, like here, let's eat this lump of coal kind of thing, but like the crust to it, I do think adds, even though you do get the crunch from the graham cracker. So does that kind of, are you being a little redundant there?
I guess in a s'more, it doesn't really matter as much. If I'm just roasting some marshmallows, I want it to be in like a nice golden brown all the way around.
Okay.
But in a s'more, as long as it has that gooiness inside, it just has to roast long enough to have that gooiness. Because once you smush it all together,
right,
you don't even know what color it is.
No, that makes sense. I mean, and that, you know what? Simplicity is good because I think even there should be simplicity in cravings. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Because, I mean, obviously, we like to joke about like our cravings as well, but like it's also good that we're seeing improvements on the fact that we're just craving simple things.
One thing you might like, a couple of years ago, I had tried s'mores, but instead of using chocolate, we used Reese's peanut butter cups.
Oh yeah, sign me up, dog. I am reporting for duty when it comes to anything Reese's cups. Like I would even take Reese's cups down my slip and slide. Like that's how sick I am when it comes to peanut butter. Like I would hold Reese's cups and just put more peanut butter on them.
Oh.
Yeah. But those are good cravings though. I mean, and again, therapeutic. I feel better now.
Yeah.
Because I was laying in bed when I thought about that and I was like, you sick.
It's a good thing we don't have a slip and slide. Otherwise I'd have to really take control here.
Yeah, you really would. I'd be going right into the waterfront. So you know what? Let's move on to a new segment. This one's a little bit different. Especially I think it fits nicely into our quarantine-themed episode. But this segment is called On the Corner of Culture and Third. And so what this is that we each come up with something that's just kind of pop culture or just real, like regular world.
Something current.
Right. Like nothing to do with really kind of the weight loss. Like it can tie back into it, but it doesn't have to. We're just sitting having a couple hot dogs on the corner of Culture and Third, baby. Like that's all we're doing, and we're just shooting the shit, having a time. So Barry and I each pick something, and then him and I, we pick something together.
Right.
And we go into that. And so I think the first thing we want to get into, because I think if I don't talk about this in some sort of audio experience, then I'm probably going to just
go crazy.
Yeah, I'm probably going to go nuts. But just how much I miss sports, like sports in general.
So can you just tell me and the audience, like, what about sports is, like, what does sports mean to you?
Well, just like sports throughout my entire life was because, like, let's be honest, dude, like, I couldn't play them that well. Like, I used to like fabricate how good I was at sports at home while we were at camp because it's pretty, like, if you have any sort of athleticism, it's kind of cool and a little bit show-offy to drop 35 in a fat camp basketball game. You know what I mean? And I did. I used to fabricate. He was like, yeah, I'm like this good at home. No, I wasn't. It was because I was a kid and I was like self-conscious and I was like, well, you know what we got to do here? We got to
pretend to be Jordan.
Yeah, we got to lie here. That's definitely the best strategy, Seth. Let's go with that. And
have I ever told you about that time that I posted up a 3?
I hate you. So and sports throughout my entire life were just, you're watching just these incredible athletes do incredible things. And like when you grow up around here, championships.
Oh, do people from Boston expect a championship every year?
Well, yeah, it's not.
Me and my Mets fan family are sitting in the corner going like, what's a championship?
Yeah, and I don't know how you live like that, dude. Like I have been able to witness so many championships and see just so much dominance. And when you grow up watching that many sports and sports just give you that kind of, just that community culture to it, it really kind of, when it all goes away, it's nuts. Dude, I bet on Korean baseball the other day. Like, Like,
Are their leagues still going?
well, the Korean Baseball League is starting to show up on ESPN. Like their season is fairly new, and I bet on Korean baseball. I lost.
So
Of course I did. I just threw down a quick 10, just for the rush.
did you do any like research of like
No,
what is
no,
just-
no. Like for something like that, like I was just like, you know what, we're just gonna do this, see what happens, and you know what, I probably don't need to do it again. But it's just weird. It's weird right now that I can't turn on the TV and there's a game on. Like we would be right in the thick of the NBA playoffs, and the NHL playoffs is too. Like in my opinion, the two of the most entertaining playoff platforms in sports. Like, and maybe that's just because of the sports that I tend to gravitate to. But
Yeah.
like betting on sports during playoff season is a different kind of rush, dude. Like these games are all on prime time. They're all pretty well spaced out, so you can watch all of them. And to just have it go like it's all gone. It's insane. Like obviously right now the Michael Jordan documentary is still going on, and
Right.
people are all racked up in that. And I'm glad that documentaries are getting the type of shine that they deserve, but like it's only because
all the sports people have nowhere to go?
right. And so that's definitely something that this entire thing has just really thrown me for a loop, and I just can't wait for sports to come back.
Yeah. So when you usually watch sports ball in person, when you go into whatever garden or stadium or whatever has all these different games, do you miss that aspect as much as you miss like the watching it and the betting on it?
I'm kind of different because I mean I went to a ton of Celtics games before when I used to have season tickets when my dad and I would go all the time, and those are some of the best memories that I'll ever have with
Right.
with my dad because we just had so much fun doing that. So like I do definitely miss the arena experience, but you always have the best seat in the house when you're at home. You know what I mean? Like
that's true.
there's not a money aspect to it. Like you always have the best seat in the house at home, and there's always a bathroom right nearby that like isn't covered in piss. But that's the thing is that like when you're at a big game, being at the stadium is unreal, no matter the sport, because you just have everyone around you feeling the same thing that you do. And I think that there's a community aspect that we are really missing without sports. And people have their
Right.
opinions on sports, and I absolutely understand why some people aren't into sports. But like I think it's just like all things that have come to a halt right now, where it's the culture behind it and it's the community.
Well, and I'll agree with that, especially for things like sports where, they have such a constantness about them. They've always been on. They've always had things going on. And even when you have like some disputes or something, that cancels some event, right, there's still more sports. And so like this is the first time that sports fans don't have sports.
And don't have a fallback.
And don't have a fallback. And I feel like there's a ton of different types of communities and interests that have been going on for so long. And now that they're gone, people really just don't know what to do with themselves.
Yeah, I agree with that. And I think that's, I think that it's something that I think it adds to the angst of people wanting things to just come back quick.
Well, and it kind of like, it almost reminds me a little bit of like in the entertainment industry. I'm a big movie guy.
Yeah.
And, when it comes to movies, there are obviously dips in the year where like there isn't really that much interesting stuff coming out in January or February. But like by May and June, you should be having those big summer blockbusters.
Yeah, you segued this perfectly. That was well done.
Yeah. And as somebody who loves those big blockbuster, like I love all of the Marvel movies, right?
Yeah.
Like they've been so consistent about those. And then now there's just nothing.
Yeah.
And not only is there nothing now, but there's also really nothing on the horizon because of all the production's been shut down.
Well, I was just about to say that is that it's not just the right now, it's the aftermath, because all these things have halted production. And so when things come back, you have to finish all those movies. You have to finish all those things. You have to finish up production on those. And then all those actors and directors, they have to get into their other projects that they've been signed on to do. And so you're looking at all these things getting pushed back. And it
kind of surprises me too, because I know there are a lot of movies that have been starting to like push like the video on demand thing because theaters are shut down. But it's crazy to me how few movies really have done that.
Yeah. I expected a lot more.
And it just makes me wonder, like, are we going to get to a point maybe in like September where they are able to open up movie theaters and then they release all these ones that they kind of had mostly finished for right now?
Right.
But then there's another huge lag because nothing's been filming for months.
And do you see a drop off in quality because things start getting rushed? You know what I mean? Like studios don't give a shit, dude.
Yeah,
like,
no, Disney wants to make money.
Right. Like, and same with Universal and Paramount and all these ones. They're just like, just get it done and get it done now. And it's, I don't know. I don't know if we'll see, but I think that's an interesting point on are movie theaters like, could this be the end? Like, I always think that there's a place for movie theaters, and I know you think so too, because we love going to the movies, and how else are you going to have a bathtub full of popcorn? But
Right.
like, I always do wonder, I mean, people do love the fact that they can just pay $25 and have 10 people over. I mean, granted, you shouldn't be right now, but you know what I mean? Like $25 bucks, have the family, and you're watching Scoob.
As opposed to as opposed to if you're a traditional like family of 3 or 4, like just going like a mom, a dad, and a couple kids going to the movies is an expensive proposition in general.
Yeah, absolutely.
So it makes so much sense for them, especially when they can buy the movie, because you know how kids are. They just want to rewatch Trolls World Tour 5,000 times in a row until you can't do anything except sing all the songs in your head.
Just a very important factor that I know all of you were wondering at home, but Trolls World Tour and Scoob are both still eligible for Oscars. So I know that you guys were so worried.
The competition's very thin.
You were so worried because
now.
we were worried, because like I want the Trolls to have their day on the stage thanking the Academy, and who knows, maybe I want Scooby. I want Scooby and Shaggy up there too.
Honestly wasn't even a consideration for me, but with how few movies there are this year, like what if the best picture winner is Scoob?
Yeah.
Like, what if it is Trolls World Tour? Because there really just hasn't been anything better.
And like, although Parasite,
I say that without having watched either of those.
Although Parasite was phenomenal, it's, I mean, what if like more mainstream, like studio, you know what I mean? Like, what if we see a shift there, and who knows? And so I want to introduce your point. Because you had kind of given me a hint, and I did have like a couple questions based on it, because you've been talking about this a little bit. Our last point for on the corner of culture and third, and you're a teacher. You
Confirmed.
You teach the youth of America, which is one of the most noble professions, especially right now more than ever. And so, I mean, hopefully everyone at home is giving you a big round of applause for how you're doing, because I see it every day. But you had told me that the impact on the kids. Speak to that a little bit, just what you're seeing.
Well, one thing that is always concerning, whenever something happens with a kid that they find weird, they kind of look to the adults around them for reassurance. And as an adult who's around a lot of kids, in my job, it's weird not being able to give that reassurance that like everything's going to be okay.
Yeah.
I've had conversations with some of my students who, like, their family members have been really sick and can't afford testing.
Right.
So they just stay home and they suffer in the house.
Yeah, that's tough.
And just like so many stories like that. I know, I don't really know specifically, or otherwise I would have to report it. But what does this mean for kids who are abused or neglected
and don't have stable homes, home environments where school is essentially the escape, right?
Right. So now they're quarantined in a house with their abusers. Like, and the other thing that kind of gets me is just kind of seeing the social skills of these kids deteriorate.
Well, that's what I was going to say. Do you think that's probably like the biggest pit, I don't want to say pitfall, but maybe the biggest effect on the kids is
absolutely they need the socialization of school,
right?
And as much as like, as far as the education goes, education could move entirely online, and if it was done right, it would be just as effective at teaching. But there's no replacement for that in-person social interaction.
Right.
Just as an example, I have one student who reminds me a lot of how I was like in middle school.
Okay.
Kind of nerdy, doesn't have too many friends. He really only has one close friend.
Right.
And everybody else just kind of thinks he's weird because he's just like socially awkward.
Right.
And, I definitely see myself as a 7th grader in him. I talk to him like a person instead of like a weird kid.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
And it's crazy how far that gets you.
Yeah, who would have thunk?
And so I feel pretty confident saying I was one of his favorite teachers. But the other day, we were doing an extra help appointment over Google Meets. And he had such a hard time processing, like, just basic questions, just having a conversation.
Yeah.
Because he is that kind of kid. and I was the same way when I was a kid, where if they told me when I was 12 years old that you don't have to go to school anymore, it's all at home, just stay home and do your work, I would have not left my bedroom except to eat and go to the bathroom.
Yeah, you take that deal 10 times out of 10.
Exactly. And I would have taken it in a heartbeat.
And I think a lot of kids would have. I think if you had told a lot of kids like back in like October, like, hey, what if you didn't go to school the rest of the year? They'd be like, sign me the fuck up.
Yeah, no, like a lot of the kids have been saying that. But like some of the kids can kind of get through with the social aspect because they have social media. So if they have 10 friends, they're able to talk to all 10 friends.
Right. Communication is easier in that sense.
But this kid, it's kind of, it's very easy at that age to just kind of say, you know what, I'm just going to shut myself in my room. I'm going to play video games in every waking second that I'm not doing the schoolwork I have to do. And what's it going to be like for him when schools open up, hopefully in September? And now he's back in a social environment, and how much of his social skills are still going to be there, and how, and I think that this is just millions of kids around the world don't know how to socially interact as well in general.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
And this is only going to make it that much worse.
And I think the biggest thing right now, and I know that I want to try and make a concerted effort too, but just, I mean, obviously with our campers who are going through this right now, the campers we used to have, you know what I mean? Obviously, I left camp after 2017, you left after 2018. And I think that now more than ever, if you have kids who are, or if you know kids or have a good relationship with some of these kids who are around this age going through this, you got to check in on them.
Yeah.
I mean, we talked to one of our former campers the other day, and I mean, that lit us both up, and I think it picked him up too, because
I agree.
It's a big thing. So that's the corner of culture in third. Just a quick stop in the real world, I mean, the current real world, that is. And so
fun.
Yeah, so we're going to move on into our main topic of the day, which is the title of this episode, Quarantine Casserole. And I mean, you can sense the theme. This really is just our COVID-19 episode when you think about it.
Yeah, it's our just coping mechanism.
Exactly. I think if we don't talk about this stuff, then we're going to go insane. But I kind of want to ask you, first of how you're handling quarantine, both routine-wise and mentally, especially as it relates to our weight loss journeys. You know what I mean?
So mentally, I'm trying to figure out a way to say this without kind of completely obliterating my point from the last segment. So this has been my first year teaching, and it's a very weird way to end your first year teaching.
Oh, absolutely.
But January and February, we're kind of starting to kick my ass, and March is a notoriously long month for teachers because there's no breaks. So I was feeling very stressed out before all of this had started. And at the beginning of it, the quarantine really was just a mental health vacation for me.
Yeah.
I had like 2 weeks where I didn't really have to do much of anything. And I could have already felt myself becoming happier, less stressed.
Right, because you weren't as burnt out, I guess.
Right.
Yeah.
But now that it's stretched on, I can officially say this has been on too long, because in case anybody out there had any doubt, because I've gone from that point of, mental health improving all the way to like just being so bored with myself that I spend hundreds of hours on Animal Crossing.
Right. Have you?
How have you been handling quarantine?
Yeah. No. Hey, really uplifting there, man. And so it's funny because I work in Rhode Island but live in Mass, so I'm going on, like, you're trying to balance just like two different governors of what they're saying on when things can go back to normal, and really you just kind of have to, you're at the mercy of whenever But I think the big thing for me is that when this started, I was so nervous about my weight loss. Mm-hmm. And I think a lot of people out there who have been on health and wellness journeys,
I was too.
Yeah, whether physically or mentally, anytime someone tells you like, hey, you're about to be shut inside just as winter is ending,
that's fun.
It throws everybody off, you know what I mean? And I remember kind of driving home, and I was just talking to myself over and over of like, okay, here's what we're not going to do.
On your last day of work?
Yeah, when I was driving home on my last day before I started working from home every day, I was just like, we can't do this. And then at one point I just stopped, and I was like, you're doing exactly what you did years ago, where you're just like you're already punishing yourself.
Right. And it's not your fault.
Right. I think like quarantine, you have to let yourself make some of these mistakes, because you're reteaching yourself how to have a normal routine with a work day. Do you know how many times I've ever worked from home before this? Maybe once.
Yeah.
Like maybe. And so you're reteaching yourself how to do your daily routine just in a whole new way. And I think that's what has people so frustrated. And then of course you have like, I mean, what do you think about the fact that we get so many takeout deals or takeout emails, you know what I mean? Or
Just right to the phone.
Menu slid under the door kind of thing, like where people are just like, hey, like,
First of all, I think that if coronavirus is going on and you are sliding menus under anyone's door, you can go fuck yourself.
you are not doing the right thing.
Like, I will never do business at your establishment.
But it is funny, especially for us who are trying to be so much healthier. And then they're like, and we want people to support local restaurants and,
absolutely.
and a local establishment. Eat local as much as you can. Like,
If I was going out to eat, that's exactly what I'd be doing, because I know so many kids in the community, because since I teach, you know, in the same city I live in, I know so many kids whose families have like
shops.
a bakery or something else. Like, those kids are struggling because they know that it's bad for business, and the parents are all stressed out over it.
Right. And it's so weird when you're trying to be healthier, just how much you notice food advertising. You know what I mean? And all the deals that are kind of thrown at you, and like how many emails I've had to unsubscribe to from places that I've ordered before. And as we've gone on, though,
I think Domino's listens to everything I say, because after
absolutely.
I talk about Domino's, I always get an
the fact
email.
that we just said Domino's means we will somehow get an email to an email address that we never knew we had. But I think the thing is as we go on, as we continue to be in quarantine and kind of, it's like working a muscle. You know what I mean? Like, you just kind of gradually get better. And some days are shitty, folks. Like, some days suck. I'm not joking. Like, there are some days where like I finish the workday and I'm gassed. And I'm just like, man, but you didn't do anything. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's just that mental kind of anguish.
It's that, like, you're tired because you've done nothing all day.
Right, exactly. And that's a really big thing. You know what I mean? And I think what I'm most proud of, at least with both of us, and that I hope that people out there who are going through the same journey as us, is that don't let quarantine derail you. Just learn to customize it for you.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, it's
I know for me, as much as like this is a quarantine situation here and I don't really leave the apartment property, I do go outside pretty often.
Right.
I go downstairs, even if it's just, you know, 2 weeks ago, it was so nice.
Yeah.
It was like 70 degrees, sunny. I literally tailgated right in the back of the parking lot.
Yeah, with your mask on.
With my mask on. And honestly, it was a great time, and I've never really been much of a tailgater.
And you know what's funny is I've learned to be a little less hard on myself during this, because when you go through something that's uncharted territory, you have to be less critical of yourself when you make these mistakes, because guess what? Like, you're going through it potentially for like the first time.
I think the thing that's kind of bothered me the most is that I've had a lot of plans for traveling and people traveling here, you know, friends coming to visit.
Yeah, absolutely.
But also, this is going to be the first summer that I'm not working since I was too young to work.
Right.
So, you know, I was really looking forward to doing a lot of traveling, seeing a lot of friends I haven't seen in a long time, seeing my grandparents that I haven't seen in a long time. And it's very concerning, not just not being able to travel right now, but also the uncertainty of like, when will it be okay to travel?
Yeah.
And not just like, when is the government going to let us travel, but when is it actually going to be safe to travel? Because I think those are two totally separate things.
I agree with that. And I think what we want to say to everybody out there is to just keep going. Like, keep going. Like, don't worry as much. And I know it's so hard not to, but don't worry about the missteps on your bad days during quarantine, because it's kind of the same thing. Just make your next decision a good one, especially food related. And if you can make one more good decision today than you did yesterday, you won. You won the day, in my opinion. And I think that's how I've been treating it, and that's how you've been treating it. And it's something that we just have to continue to kind of keep going with.
Hey, Seth, question for you.
Oh, God.
Do you remember that year where like all the clowns were attacking people?
Yeah, and I really don't want to relive that, but here we go.
Well, I'm just bringing it up because I'm thinking, like, I like to think about this to myself sometimes. Like, that was such a bizarre time that everybody's pretty much forgotten about unless you bring it up.
Okay.
One day, I like to think that we're just going to look at each other and be like, remember that time the whole world stayed inside for a few months? And I hope that really that's
Yeah, that's
like how
hey,
we're going to look at it in like a year or two or
nothing
5.
dampens your spirit, Samwise Gamgee. Like, that is that is an optimistic way to look. And I think that optimism is something we need right now. And we're actually going to go to a quick ad break. I know, an ad break in our 3rd episode? Unbelievable. All right, folks, we'll be right back. Folks, I'm going to be honest here. I lied. We don't have any advertisers. It's episode 3.
Wow, you better have a good reason for lying to these people.
I honestly think I do. And it's an announcement that you and I both want to make today. And folks, right now are just really trying times, and we just want to say a gigantic thank you to first responders and frontline workers helping to combat the COVID-19 virus.
Whether it's the police and firemen or the doctors and nurses that are working overtime and making so many sacrifices to keep us safe.
So many families are struggling right now and working extremely hard to make sure that we're all safe. And we want to shout out an organization that we think is doing an incredible job right now. And this is the Boys and Girls Club COVID-19 Relief Fund. From the Boys and Girls Club's website, club kids and their families are facing trying times with the abrupt closure of schools. From food insecurity to scrambling to find safe, quality childcare for parents who must remain working like first responders and healthcare workers. So right now, folks, if you go to donate.bgca.org, you can donate to the Boys and Girls Club COVID-19 Relief Fund that will help provide meals, provide childcare, all to the people who are working their hardest to keep us safe. And once again, we just want to say thank you so much to everybody who's on the front lines doing their best to keep us safe.
We also know that times are tough for a lot of the people who are listening. So be sure to give what you can give, but make sure that you're not putting your own financial situation in jeopardy.
People always seem to think that it has to be a massive donation. It doesn't.
It doesn't. $2 is going to make a difference. And $10 makes a difference. Whatever you can afford will make a difference.
Making a difference for people who are just working extremely hard. And so just one more time, thank you to everybody out there. And please, everybody at home and everybody on the front lines, stay safe. Do you want to do a little bit of breaded and butter?
I would love some breaded butter. That's not right.
Yeah, that's not right. I do want to finish with breaded and butter, and I'm really hoping that you have one because I kind of just threw that at you.
Yeah, no,
we should really write these things down.
I actually have a whole list of different threads to go through that have some really good things. And the one that I think makes the most sense for right now would be to talk about some controversial food opinions.
I love these. We used to live on these, so let's bring back the glory days.
All right, I'm going to start off hard here. Buying Stars says, cheese is disgusting, salad is great, and bugs are tasty with paprika and salt.
That, I don't even know how to respond to that.
There's a lot to unpack.
That's a lot going on. Well, first off, what's the username again?
Buying Stars.
All right, cool. Just so when I call the police. First off, there's a lot to unpack here. The bugs thing, obviously, but you know what? I feel like that's too...
I don't know. Ask Timon and Pumbaa because, there's the slimy ones, there's the crunchy ones.
I don't like that. Because he's being serious too. Like
yeah,
I don't think this is like internet outrage comment. I really have the issue with cheese here. If you can't eat cheese, I get it.
That makes sense.
You know what I mean? But I don't know how anyone could have a problem with cheese.
I will say I'm almost jealous of this person because I feel like if I just naturally hated cheese, loved salad, and bugs were like a tasty snack, I would definitely not need to be losing weight at this point in my life.
I also wouldn't be on the internet because I would be living in the jungle with the monkeys that raised me. I don't know. Because how often do chimpanzees have cheese? Probably not often. They probably eat a lot of leaves and they eat those bugs.
I also feel like when you say bugs, bugs is a wide variety of things. So is it all bugs? Is it ladybugs, mosquitoes?
Is it the worm at the bottom of a tequila bottle? Is it? I don't know, man. That's so that's not even controversial. I think that's
just wrong.
You're wrong.
Yeah, so we are not open to other opinions here. But
be yourself except when we don't want you to be.
Yeah. All right, this next one I'm actually a little intrigued by. I want to know your take on it. This is from a username that I'm not going to read out loud.
Thank you, Reddit.
Yeah, no, they have too few rules there. So this one says, sprinkle a packet of sugar on your next slice of cheese pizza. You'll thank me later. But then there's a reply from Engineer Field Mouse that says, yes, this. Also, mustard on pizza.
Oh, let's start on the surface, okay?
All right, one thing at a time. So a packet of sugar on pizza.
It's just like
cheese pizza.
It's just like, why? Why do you need to do that? Like, because you know what?
Here's the thing. I think we might have different takes on
Oh
this
my
because
God,
I could actually see that being really good.
What?
Well, because think about it.
Like a sweet, salty kind of thing?
Well, I wouldn't even say salty, but like cheese pizza, I feel like if you were to just sprinkle some sugar on it, it just makes it a little bit sweeter. It doesn't really alter the flavors that much. Putting mustard on it alters the flavor of the pizza, like dramatically. But I feel like sugar just accentuates, some of the sweeter tastes of pizza.
No, it's not butter, dude. Like, I don't know. Like, Barry, that's nuts to me because, like, I understand.
I want you to know that as soon as I'm allowed to have cheese pizza again, according to myself, I will be putting.
If I ever see you do this, then the show is canceled. Or actually,
you heard it here first, folks.
Sorry, we made it 3 episodes before we went big time and hated each other. But you know what? Like, I could
logical extreme.
You know what I could kind of see, like maybe like barbecue chicken pizza, like how like some people like that sweet barbecue, and so like maybe
exactly
you put a little cinnamon, or I don't know. Like, I'm just trying to get inside this person's headspace and not murder somebody. I don't know. It makes me kind of cringe.
Here's the thing. It's one of those things that really does sound weird, but it almost reminds me of the first time I tried a French fry dipped in a milkshake, where I thought to myself, like, why would anybody want that?
Okay.
And then I tried it and it was good. So
you're not gonna knock it till you try it.
Yeah. Sugar on pizza, we'll see. Mustard on pizza, you go to hell.
I don't know. Oh, yeah. See, what's funny is that, like, I'm less against mustard.
Oh, really?
And when I say on, are we talking on or are we talking dip?
No, it says mustard on
Okay,
pizza.
so we'll take it as a literal sense, Okay, like, it's not like I'm going to take the yellow Heinz bottle and just be like, yeah, how you doing? Yeah, happy Friday. And
my question would be, is it like on top of the regular pizza, or would the mustard be a substitute for the tomato sauce?
I think we have to take it at face value and say that it's mustard on the pizza. Because, like, I could see myself dipping a piece of pizza in honey mustard. You know what I mean? Like,
that's true.
And granted, maybe
honey mustard is the only type of mustard that I consider to be okay.
Ugh. Good God, sugar on pizza. I'm honestly, I'm shivering, which is great radio.
Well, hold a second. Because honey mustard is sweet.
Yeah, but it's
so what's wrong with the sweet?
It's not a packet of sugar, dude. Like, I don't know. It's just you're putting all those sugar crystals like baked into cheese. Like, I just don't think it's necessary. And it just, I don't know, for some reason, it gives me the willies.
I mean, I don't think the two of us should ever talk to anybody else about what's necessary to put on certain types of foods.
Yeah,
because
but you know what? The past is the past, and this and the fat shoot of limitations is,
So this last one, I think, is a controversial opinion, at least to me. But I think there's really a discussion to be had there. And they said rare steak is a waste of steak. Well done, or get the fuck out.
Ooh.
So I'm gonna start off here because I don't even think we've discussed like how we like our steaks, but I am like, as rare as they are legally allowed to serve it to me. That is what I say in a restaurant.
You want the cow still mooing.
Yeah, I say, especially like same thing with hamburgers too, like because they really have a problem with like giving you a raw hamburger.
Right.
But like I tell them, as rare as you are legally allowed to serve it to me.
Interesting. Okay.
That's where all the flavor is. You don't burn out all the flavor.
I do understand this argument. Like, I've always heard people say, well, if you order your steak well done, why don't you just get a burger? Well, why don't you just like order what you like? Like, that's one. And I know that.
I would even go further. I'd say if you order your steak well done, why don't you just eat a chunk of leather?
Because you know what? It's kind of funny. I've had
throw some barbecue sauce on it.
I've had pieces I've had cuts of meat well done before. Like I have, like, because like when you're just trying different shit and you're just doing that, and I can't sit there and say that I hated it. Like, I'm a medium rare guy, you know what I mean? Like, that's me, because like what's more middle of the road, I guess. But I mean, obviously medium, but but you know what I mean? The steak thing has never really bothered me that much. The only thing that I do have an issue with is, and I've seen this a couple times, is I've seen people ask for their steak to come out pre-cut.
pre-cut.
Yep.
Like
I have seen this on
now, are these adult
four separate
people,
occasions.
or are these like little kids that
No.
are like, "Can we please cut my my steak for
Yes,
me?"
exactly. Like I've seen, I'm not joking, 4 times is an alarming amount of times to see across 4 different people.
Oh, okay. That was going to be my
throughout my
next
life.
question. I was going to be like, are you just repeatedly eating with a psychopath, or do you just know several?
And I will never throw these people under the bus, obviously, but
At least not on air.
I'm just saying, dude, like, what are you doing? You know how to use a knife. You know how to use a fork. Cut your own damn steak. It's not some poor cook or waiter or waitress or hostess or anyone's job to cut your food for you. Would you like them to chew it for you and baby bird it into your mouth? like you.
That's not proper social distancing,
What
folks.
an absolute just psychopaths. All 4 were men. Which and
You know what? That just tells you so much about male psychology there, right?
yeah, like it's just like, I don't have time for this. I got a meeting to get to. Please cut my steak. Like,
Or just like, oh, the woman who cuts my steak isn't here right now,
yeah,
so can
exactly.
you do it for me?
And it's just always so funny because like 3 out of the 4 people like are very like that macho, like that very like you could say like that. It's like dial it back a bit. You know what I mean?
I would ridicule them so hard if they did that in front of me.
Just macho juice chads.
I think those friendships would end because I would not be able to let that joke go.
And I always used to just kind of sit there and just be like, man, you talk such a big game and have such like a big bravado to you. And yet you're like, could you cut that up for me? Yeah, no, just like little bite-sized pieces. Yeah. And
Now, do you think
bring
that
a side of ketchup for it while you're at it, you know? Like,
now, where does it end? Because do you think they do the same thing with like chicken cutlet or veal or
I don't know. Is it
just steak?
Is it all meat? Who knows? Like it honestly 4 separate times in my life, which I think, you know what, is 4 times too many.
Yeah.
But
I am grateful that I have lived a full life without ever having
To ask.
ever not even to ask, but to ever even hear about people. Like to me, the audacity of going to a restaurant, right? And like asking them to cut your steak for you.
Right.
You better be leaving like a 200% tip on that check.
You better just pay their salary for the year. I mean,
God, or at least bring your nanny with you next time to do it for you.
honestly. So I mean those are good. God, Reddit, what a treasure chest. Just full of just the weirdos of the internet. So we're gonna move into closing thoughts. I mean, we're another episode down, and I mean, you know what? I think we're finding a pretty good groove right now too.
I agree.
And the big thing is, folks, I mean, we really hope you subscribe to the show on every platform imaginable, and make sure to find us on Facebook and Twitter.
And make sure to cut your own goddamn steak.
Absolutely. And then after you cut your own steak, follow us on Instagram too, at sorry4 the wait pod, at sorry for our wait. I'm going to fucking cut all of this. Oh my God.
Sorry, 5 the wait.
You know what? I'm just going to say sorry for trying to plug our fucking socials at the end of this.
Bad idea.
Oh, that was fucking terrible. But until next time, folks, you know, we'll see you for another episode. Until next time, I'm Seth.
And I'm Strawberry.
And this is Sorry for the Wait.